He clearly recognized me. Yet he insisted on treating me like a stranger when I walked in. Only after the entire examination was complete did he deliver the final crushing blow. He must have done it on purpose. It had been 12 hours since the incident, but I was still reeling from the trauma of my public humiliation. When my phone rang on the table, I answered it mindlessly, continuing my final summary to my best friend. I'm telling you, I would rather run naked down the street, letting the entire world see my 2 lumps of flesh, than ever have any contact with Atticus Lowe again. Only after I finished speaking did I remember the phone pressed to my ear. My voice still thick with indignation, I asked, "Who is this?" I waited for a few seconds, and just when I thought the other person had hung up, a low, lingering male voice drifted over the line. "It's me, Atticus Lowe. If there were textbooks on social death, I would undoubtedly be a prime case study." I feigned that the shocking pronouncements I had just made were uttered by someone else entirely. With as much composure as I could muster, I asked what urgent matter prompted his late-night call. "You left something in the consultation room. Remember to come pick it up when you have time tomorrow." I paused, momentarily bewildered. I couldn't think of anything I might have left behind. "Are you sure you want to know?" he asked, his tone subtly implying I had left something scandalous. What was he suggesting? That in a desperate attempt to grab his attention, I'd left behind a glass slipper? Under my suspicious questioning, I heard some rustling on his end. After a moment, he lowered his voice, a hint of something I couldn't quite decipher in his tone. "It's a black lace bra." The words hung in the air, and my world went silent. I had completely forgotten that, before my breast examination earlier that day, I had bought a comfortable sports bra at a nearby store to change into, leaving my original, more delicate garment behind. My towering indignation instantly crumbled. I'll come get it tomorrow." He simply hummed in assent. Just as I was about to hang up, Atticus Lowe spoke again. "When you come, wear some clothes." "Huh. Don't come running naked," he clarified dryly. "This is a proper hospital." My response was a choked, mortified silence. The next day, after considerable psychological fortification, I deliberately chose a time near the end of the hospital's operating hours to arrive at the clinic. My plan was simple: grab the item and leave immediately. I knocked politely. Atticus Lowe looked up, acknowledged me with a brief glance, and said, "Go wait inside the inner room. There are 2 more patients." I just needed to pick up an item of clothing. What did his patient load have to do with me? Seeing me remain rooted to the spot, he actually began to urge me. "Go wait inside. Patients require privacy." Now he was concerned about privacy? Then why didn't he just let me leave yesterday? 10 agonizing minutes later, I finally got a chance to speak with Atticus Lowe. I reached out, about to ask him to return my bra, but he glanced at me and said, "Let's go. I'll treat you to dinner. You don't have to go to that trouble. I'll just grab my thing and leave." No sooner had I finished speaking than a young nurse suddenly pushed open the door. Seeing me standing next to Atticus Lowe, she grinned. I knew there was a reason Dr. Lowe suddenly changed his schedule. "You have a date with a lovely lady." "You've misunderstood," I quickly explained, my face flushing. "I'm a patient of Dr. Lowe's. I left something in the clinic yesterday and came back to get it." The nurse chuckled. "Last month, a patient deliberately left their phone in the department. Last week, another patient left their diagnosis report. If this keeps up, Dr. Lowe's clinic will become the hospital's lost and found office." Her comment felt surprisingly pointed. Lost and found office? She was so sharp, she must have stripped every bamboo shoot from the mountain. As soon as the nurse left, I quickly clarified. "I really didn't mean to leave it behind. I didn't even know you were the attending physician before my checkup yesterday. Please don't get the wrong idea." Atticus Lowe responded slowly, beginning to take off his white coat. "No misunderstanding. Back when you asked me to tutor you, I never misunderstood all the homework books, pencils, erasers, and things you left on my desk either. Bringing up the past was truly pointless." I ignored the bait. Atticus Lowe continued, changing the subject smoothly. "How is your chest doing now?" "The area with the lump in my right breast gets sudden sharp pains. The rest is okay. I'll take a look again in a few days. If it shows signs of growing quickly, We'll need to schedule surgery for removal. Breast conditions are easily aggravated by anger and frustration. Maintaining a stable emotional state is crucial. Eat something light tonight. I've already picked the place. Oh, I managed, still simmering with frustration at constantly being on the back foot since our reunion. It wasn't until Atticus Lowe gently tugged the strap of my backpack, reminding me, "The car is over there," that it fully hit me. When exactly had I agreed to go to dinner with him? Staying up late causes hormonal imbalance, which affects your overall hormone regulation and is not conducive to recovery. Get some rest early. At exactly 10:30 p.m., a message arrived from Atticus Lowe, more punctual than any alarm clock. I glanced at it, tossed my phone aside, and continued listening to Gavin Reed brag. For the next episode of our medical science show, I've booked a top expert in the medical field, Harvard Medical School graduate, promoted to deputy chief physician at 28. Look at my connections, aren't they impressive? So boastful, I muttered. Anyone who didn't know better would think you graduated from Harvard. My bluntness immediately annoyed Gavin. He tapped the dinner table with his chopsticks. All right, my dear colleague, you're the only one in the planning department without a significant other now. You absolutely cannot miss this opportunity. Spruce yourself up. Don't say I didn't look out for you. I grabbed a bottle of beer, tilted my head back and chugged half of it, letting out a loud burp. Fine, I agreed, playing along. I'll wear a short skirt, impossibly high heels, let my big waves of hair down, and if I don't utterly mesmerize this industry bigwig, my name isn't Ding. As soon as the words left my mouth, I felt a chilling draft behind me. I instinctively rubbed my cooling back and nonchalantly turned around, meeting a pair of unsettlingly familiar eyes. Oh God, I mumbled under my breath. I think I've had too much to drink. Why does everyone look like Atticus Lowe? I blinked, trying to clear my head, but Gavin Reed bounced up first. Dr. Lowe. A jolt of dread shot through me, straight to the top of my skull. Sure enough, Gavin Reed's next words confirmed my fear. Ding, this is the guest I was just telling you about, Atticus Lowe. Speaking of the devil. The cold air made my heart ache. My right breast began to throb, a sharp pulsating pain that mirrored my frayed nerves. Atticus Lowe, who had shown little interest in group activities back in school, had somehow agreed to Gavin Reed's enthusiastic invitation, and was now sitting awkwardly with us in a tiny, unimpressive restaurant, making small talk with people he barely knew. Atticus Lowe was seated right beside me. We were so close that his arm, resting on the table, occasionally brushed against my elbow, the contact point strangely warm. With a group of people from entirely different fields, conversation quickly lagged. Gavin Reed, ever the ghost of ideas, came up with a bizarre game. Truth or Dare? No Dare edition. At first, the questions were relatively tame. But after a few rounds and more drinks, the atmosphere heated up considerably, and the questions grew progressively more personal. Finally, after several rounds of elimination, Atticus Lowe, who had remained detached, was unlucky enough to be chosen. Gavin Reed, his words slightly slurred, asked, Dr. Lowe, who was your first kiss with, and when and where did it happen? My heart sank. I subtly glanced at Atticus Lowe, my throat tightening. Just as everyone else seemed to think the question had crossed a line and were preparing to retract it, Atticus Lowe spoke. During summer break in our second year of high school. It happened in the boys' restroom. As soon as he finished, my colleagues erupted in loud cheers and jeers, demanding details. Only I, holding my beer glass, felt a chill in my hand. I knew about that one. It was during a class gathering. I'd had some alcohol and, emboldened by the drink, had chased Atticus Lowe to the boys' restroom to confess my feelings. Afraid of being rejected, I had impulsively kissed the corner of his mouth before fleeing in a panic. I had intended to apologize when school started, but that turned out to be the last time we saw each other. My impulsiveness, in the end, had seemed to drive Atticus Lowe away. I felt drunk now, too drunk to revisit the past. I don't feel well. I'm going to head back. Gavin Reed, in high spirits, didn't want the party to end. Why don't you feel well? If you drank too much, just sit and sober up. We won't force you to drink anymore. No, really, I'm sick. My chest hurts badly, I said. clutching my right breast, half truth, half excuse. The doctor said staying up late could kill me. At my words, Gavin Reed's gaze darted between me and Atticus Lowe. Out of Atticus's sight, he subtly gave me a thumbs up. Just as I was wondering about this gesture, Gavin Reed's eyes lit up again. How about Dr. Lowe takes a look at you? Right now, a table consultation. Holy hell, I thought. He couldn't possibly think I was faking chest pain just to get close to Atticus Lowe, could he? Our little ding is good-looking, has a great personality, and she's 27 with no boyfriend yet. Dr. Lowe, you know a lot of people. If you know someone suitable, introduce him to her. If not, you could go for it yourself. He finished with an awkward booming laugh that made me cringe. I've discovered that after experiencing multiple instances of intense embarrassment, one's psychological tolerance significantly increases. For example, right now, I had achieved a state of almost Buddha-like calm. The night streets were empty of the daytime traffic. A bright moon hung in the sky, stretching my shadow and Atticus Lowe's into long, overlapping shapes as we walked. The scene felt strangely nostalgic, transporting me back to high school, walking home after evening study sessions when it was just him and me on the small path. I never dared to walk shoulder to shoulder with him, only daring to step on his shadow, pretending we were close. You'll be there for the show recording next week? He asked, breaking the silence. Yes, I replied. As soon as I answered, a few fragments of clarity broke through my fuzzy, alcohol-addled brain. Going to Atticus Lowe for a breast examination, leaving my bra in the clinic, having a late dinner near the hospital, pretending to be sick so he'd take me home, and now adding the task of finding him for the show recording to my list of sins. No wonder people were getting the wrong idea. Connecting all these incidents, even I would start to wonder if I had some sort of improper intentions towards Atticus Lowe. Gavin Reed was the one in charge of contacting guests. It has nothing to do with me, I quickly clarified. Oh, Atticus Lowe said, the corner of his mouth turning up slightly. But I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to what? Next week's recording, Atticus Lowe said, his smile deepening. Didn't someone say they were planning to mesmerize me? My mind went blank for 2 seconds before I remembered the drunken boast I had made to Gavin Reed at dinner. If I don't utterly mesmerize this industry bigwig, my name isn't Ding. The wind brushed my cheeks, and the tree branches cast mottled shadows on the ground under the streetlights. The darkness lent me a strange courage. Stopped walking and called out to the man beside me. Atticus Lowe, there's something I've wanted to tell you since we met. After so many years you've... Atticus Lowe's eyes softened, and the corner of his mouth lifted into the same gentle arc I remembered from the white-clad young man in my memories. He waited focused for me to finish my sentence. You've gotten a bit slick, I added, feeling a perverse satisfaction, and I couldn't help but continue. Our connection was severed after you transferred. You went to Harvard, came back successful in your career, and I haven't bothered you anymore. It's really pathetic if you're still holding a grudge and trying to get revenge. You keep bringing up the past about me chasing you to make me uncomfortable, and saying suggestive things to gross me out. Look, I chased you back then, but that's not a capital offense, is it? Now I'm basically your patient. By rights, we should keep our distance, understand? You acting like this, it really makes me feel like I want to throw up. I didn't finish the sentence. The beer I'd drunk churned in my stomach, and I promptly threw up onto the street. I retched until there was nothing left. Only then did Atticus Lowe reach out, handing me a bottle of water he must have bought somewhere, and drape his jacket over my shoulders, gently but firmly guiding me into a car to take me home. On the way, I vaguely heard him sigh, but I couldn't fight the heavy drowsiness brought on by the alcohol. I drifted into a deep sleep. Atticus Lowe didn't contact me at all that week, leaving me in a state of anxious uncertainty. I couldn't believe how brazen I had been that night, actually telling him off so bluntly. Our team's performance had been lackluster lately, and Gavin Reed had only managed to secure guests like Atticus Lowe by practically begging. We were counting on Atticus's appearance to boost viewership. If I had managed to offend him enough to back out, Gavin Reed would likely skin me alive. Thankfully, Atticus Lowe possessed a basic sense of professionalism. He arrived precisely on time for the scheduled recording. Perhaps because the episode was about women's breast health, he was wearing a sharp black suit, which made him look even taller and more refined. Gavin Reed poked me in the back, signaling me to step forward and seize the opportunity to make a good impression on Atticus Lowe. Having just deeply offended the man, I felt palpably guilty and certainly didn't want to volunteer for further reprimand. Atticus Lowe glanced at his wrist. The scheduled filming time is 1 hour. You have 53 minutes left. I have a patient appointment after this and might not be able to continue cooperating. If you choose to continue delaying, you will be responsible for all resulting losses. I could visibly see Gavin Reed's ample frame tremble at Atticus Lowe's words. Along with Gavin Reed's shaking bulk, my chest began to throb again. That's it, I thought, utterly defeated. I've genuinely alienated him this time. The day I called Atticus Lowe slick and disgusting, he had responded by being cold as ice. Sitting in front of the camera, he was like a haughty peacock, yet I had to admit on screen, he somehow exuded a compelling aura. The stark contrast was so noticeable that even the usually oblivious Gavin Reed sensed something was off. Dr. Lowe was just having skewers with us yesterday. He seemed quite friendly. Why is he suddenly so serious today? I coughed awkwardly. Maybe he's having a moody day. Gavin Reed cursed softly under his breath, then looked at me with a mix of awe and confusion. Holy hell, Ding. You've only known him for a little while, and you've already figured out his personal life. Me? Although Atticus Lowe's attitude was less than friendly, his professionalism was impeccable. The recording went exceptionally smoothly. With his clear logic and handsome appearance, traffic for the episode was guaranteed. Gavin Reed fawned over him like he was a god of wealth, even asking me to see him out. Dr. Lowe, please be careful on your way back. And please give my regards to your... Well, you know. My what? Atticus Lowe glanced at me. I silently cursed Gavin Reed and shook my head wildly, signaling I had no idea what he meant, desperately trying to distance myself from my boss's idiocy. Reflecting on our reunion over this period, I had to admit Atticus Lowe had genuinely been wronged. He hadn't done anything, yet I had verbally assaulted him. Anyone would be angry. As I saw him out of the television station, I hesitated for a moment, then decided to apologize. Atticus Lowe, listen. I was drunk that day. I didn't mean it like that. Didn't mean what? I rubbed my hands together awkwardly. I mean, I didn't mean you were slick. It's just because I didn't manage to pursue you successfully back then. I felt quite embarrassed. Then you transferred and I felt a bit sorry towards you. So when I saw you, my emotions were complicated. That's all. Oh, he said. I frowned, uncertain if that "oh" meant he forgave me or not. You have a follow-up today, Atticus Lowe said, changing the subject. I happen to be free this afternoon and can check on you. But didn't you say you had a patient scheduled? Yes, he replied calmly. You? Me? Were doctors really this casual? Did they just decide appointments for patients and inform them directly? Despite his abruptness, I felt a sense of relief. I figured the unpleasant incident was finally behind us. Dressed in his sacred white coat, Atticus Lowe was instantly transformed into a formidable figure, like a terrible judge wielding power over life and death. The cold instrument was pressed against my chest again. I didn't dare look at the image on the monitor, my eyes fixed solely on Atticus Lowe. Relax, he said. Huh. Atticus Lowe cleared his throat. You staring at me like that. It's a bit distracting. Is he even a professional? Getting distracted just by being stared at? I grumbled internally, but I obediently shifted my gaze. To my surprise, I noticed his ears were bright red. After a few minutes, my curiosity won out, and I risked another glance at Atticus Lowe's face. His eyebrows were furrowed. His expression so heavy and serious he looked as if I were a terminal cancer patient. My heart sank. Is it bad? The fibroadenoma is growing rather quickly. I recommend scheduling surgery for removal in the near future. The idea of surgery terrified me. I was someone who had never even dared to pop a zit. Now my heart felt like a lump of ice. Is this surgery life-threatening? With me here, he said, his voice calm and steady, you won't be in danger. Thinking of Atticus Lowe's impressive, glittering resume, I felt a wave of reassurance. I decided to push my luck. Can the scar on my chest be stitched up nicely? I'm not married yet. Atticus Lowe's hand paused. He won't mind, he said. What kind of answer is that? How do you know he won't mind? Atticus Lowe looked at me deeply, his gaze intense. Because I won't mind. At this point, I was beginning to suspect Atticus Lowe wasn't entirely normal either. Why would his opinion matter to me? He was probably just looking for an excuse if the scar didn't turn out well. But I minded. Doctors were like this, I supposed, calm because they'd seen countless lives and deaths. I had so many questions, but looking at Atticus Lowe, I bit them back. He was my primary doctor now, and I couldn't afford to offend him. The surgery was scheduled quickly. That very evening, Atticus Lowe urged me to check into the hospital. I hadn't told my family, fearing my mother would worry. During the day, friends visited and I didn't feel lonely. But when I was left alone, in the room at night, I started to regret it. All sorts of eerie hospital legends flooded my mind. I sat with my legs crossed, scrolling through forums on my phone, and found myself humming a mournful traditional folk song, Little Cabbage. As I sang, tears welled up. The door suddenly opened, and a tall figure stood against the light, silhouetted in the doorway. Why are you still here? Haven't you finished work? Trying to get rid of me? Who would dare? I scoffed. What if your hand slipped tomorrow, and you left a scalpel or fork in my chest? I couldn't handle that. Atticus Lowe pulled a chair over and sat beside me. He had taken off his white coat, looking less formal, less intimidating. I didn't know if he had deliberately stayed to keep me company or if his work genuinely required him to be there late. Whatever the reason, with surgery the next day, I really didn't want to be alone. Nervous? He asked. A little. I hadn't wanted to show vulnerability to Atticus Lowe. But I couldn't deny I was scared. Atticus Lowe, are you sure this surgery will be okay? I read online that if the fibroadenoma is deep, it might require full anesthesia. And if they accidentally hit something, there's a risk of malignancy. I had spent hours online, reading other people's accounts, and felt like one foot was already in the funeral home. Someone said they discovered the fibroadenoma was malignant during the surgery, and ended up having the entire breast removed. Could I be in that situation? I couldn't imagine losing a breast at my age. Would I still be able to date, get married, have children? The more I thought about it, the more frightened I became, the harder it was to sleep. Atticus Lowe, contrary to my expectation, didn't offer simple comfort. Instead, he discussed it seriously. In surgery, unexpected situations can arise. Any operation carries risks. Maintaining a good mindset is important. Are you serious? I asked. Atticus Lowe just looked at me without speaking, making his words seem even more credible. Memories of the past flashed before my eyes like a movie reel. 2 streams of tears welled up and spilled over. I knew it. Karma is real. I made you transfer schools back then, and now I'm being punished. Heaven is giving you the chance to be the death of me. Don't worry, I sobbed dramatically. If something does happen to me, I won't blame you. Maybe this is just my fate. The tears flowed faster, startling Atticus Lowe. He quickly leaned closer, looking flustered. I was just kidding. I promise you everything will be fine tomorrow. I shook my head, crying harder. But what if it is malignant? If I don't have breasts anymore, will I still be a woman? It won't be malignant. I swear on my name. Atticus Lowe clearly regretted trying to scare me. He awkwardly shoved tissues into my hand. Besides, even if you didn't have breasts, you'd still be a woman, and the person who likes you would still like you. I lay back on the bed, my emotions slowly calming. I'll leave it to you tomorrow. Atticus Lowe nodded. Don't worry, he said. Perhaps it was having someone there, but I slept more soundly that night than I expected, not even knowing when Atticus Lowe left. The fibroadenoma surgery was so simple it finished faster than getting a tooth pulled. I stared at the tiny scar, still unable to believe it. That's it? It's over. The assisting nurse chuckled at my reaction. It's a very simple procedure. Dr. Lowe rarely performs surgeries of this level himself anymore. Even through his blue mask, I could see Atticus Lowe smiling. Remembering my tearful panic display the night before filled me with mortification. Atticus Lowe was probably just trying to comfort me on the surface, while inwardly calling me an idiot. I slowly began to get dressed, but my hand froze halfway through putting on my top. Seeing my hesitation, Atticus Lowe turned and gave me a questioning look. I offered a sheepish smile. Dr. Lowe, my arm is still a bit numb. Could you help me tie my bra in the back? Atticus Lowe's gaze deepened. Even I felt like a seasoned pervert asking that. And of course I had chosen to wear that black lace bra today. I quickly tried to backtrack. Where's that nurse sister from earlier? Maybe she could help. Before I could finish, Atticus Lowe walked over and came up behind me. I felt his hand lift my long hair away. His fingers, as he reached for the bra straps, were cool and accidentally brushed against my back, sending a shiver through me. The scene felt charged with an awkward intimacy that bordered on crossing a line. Thankfully, Atticus Lowe finished quickly, ending the moment before it could become even more embarrassing. I noticed his ears were starting to turn red again. Did all the female patients who had this surgery treat him like a sister? The thought made me feel a strange pity for him. It seemed being a breast surgeon came with its own unique challenges. Remember to eat lightly after the surgery, he instructed. And don't stay up late. He paused. Especially don't drink alcohol. I knew he was still fixated on the night I had drunk and thrown up after having skewers late at night. I quickly nodded. Don't worry. I'm not an alcoholic, I don't drink often. If there's a work event, I'll just say you won't let me. Good, Atticus Lowe said, taking off his mask. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly as he repeated. Just say I won't let you drink. I didn't understand why this seemed to please him so much. After the surgery, Atticus Lowe became my human alarm clock again, reminding me to go to bed even more punctually than the evening news. Not only that, he forced me to photograph all my meals for his review. Other people went to the hospital to see a doctor. I went to the hospital and somehow acquired a mother figure. And this mother was my former crush. I truly didn't know if this was a distortion of human nature or a breakdown of morality. Ding ding, are you dating someone lately? You keep smiling foolishly at your phone. You don't even hear me calling you. A colleague's comment made me realize with a jolt that the amount of time I spent chatting with Atticus Lowe daily had long surpassed normal boundaries. This change felt a bit dangerous. I wasn't worried about Atticus Lowe losing control. I was worried about myself getting ensnared by this little demon again and feeling an uncontrollable urge to pursue him all over again. Back in high school, my pursuit had seemingly driven Atticus Lowe to transfer schools. Now that he was a deputy director, he couldn't possibly quit his job and transfer hospitals just to avoid me again, could he? Something seems to have happened to Dr. Lowe after he was on our show, a colleague said, shoving her phone in front of me. After the episode aired, lots of girls started fawning over Dr. Lowe's looks. Today, reporter from the news department told me that a large number of netizens are finding their way to Dr. Lowe's clinic appointments and harassing him. It's gotten so bad, he's had to suspend patient consultations. I was utterly stunned. If things got worse, Atticus Lowe might actually have to transfer hospitals this time. By the time I realized what I was doing, I was already standing downstairs in the hospital building. Standing in the lobby, I recognized how impulsive I had been. What could I possibly do by coming here? I turned to leave, but was spotted by the nurse who had assisted with my surgery. Miss Ding, why are you here? Is something wrong with your scar? No. I was just wandering around. Who just wanders around a hospital? The answer sounded so idiotic, I felt like I was catching Gavin Reed's lack of intelligence. You came to see Dr. Lowe, didn't you? The nurse understood immediately. He's not seeing patients right now. He's been swamped by girls who managed to get appointments these past few days, demanding examinations without a second thought. The hospital leadership isn't happy about it either. It was then I learned that Atticus Lowe usually never accepted outside interviews. He had agreed to our television station's invitation for some unknown reason, and now it had brought him a load of trouble. I walked to Atticus Lowe's office and knocked. After a moment, the door opened and Atticus Lowe stood in the doorway, bathed in the light from inside, still possessing a certain ethereal otherworldly quality. This man harassed by a stream of persistent women? Before Atticus Lowe could even speak, my nose stung and tears welled up. Atticus Lowe, I'm so sorry. I've ruined your career, I cried, sitting in his office ungracefully, blowing my nose, my vision blurred with tears. Do you think our botsy clashes? Why is it that whenever you get involved with me, something bad happens to you? In high school I kissed you and our homeroom teacher caught us in the restroom, making you transfer schools. Now you appear on our show, and you're being harassed into suspension. It's suspension of consultations, not suspension from duty, he corrected gently. Same difference. I glared at Atticus Lowe. Now's not the time to quibble over words. Aren't you nervous at all? Atticus Lowe smiled slightly, asking in that seemingly detached manner, Are you worried about me? I choked up. Saying yes felt strange, saying no felt strange. The question was a trap and I refused to answer. He in turn tried to comfort me. It's fine. It'll blow over. Atticus Lowe handed me a bottle of water. There's something you misunderstood. I transferred schools because the teacher was worried you'd be hurt by gossip after they found out. They didn't blame you. Later, I came back to the school to find you, but you wouldn't see me. Back then, I was afraid of being hit, I thought, remembering the potential consequences of being caught. I lowered my head and coughed, weakly changing the subject. The nurse said you never accept interviews. Why did you agree to the recording, bringing trouble on yourself? When I came back from the United States, I looked up where you were working, he said simply. Atticus Lowe had found my workplace, and shortly after, I had walked right into his hospital clinic, essentially trapping myself. I didn't dare ask why he had searched for me after returning, but I felt that something between us was undeniably changing. By the time my stitches needed removing, Atticus Lowe's work had finally returned to normal. The girl sitting ahead of me was wearing a JK uniform and constantly posing with a mirror in her hand. I immediately sensed something was off about her. When her number was called, I quietly got up and waited by the door of Atticus Lowe's consultation room. I felt like some kind of perverted uncle pressing my ear to the door, listening. I heard the girl's saccharine voice speaking to Atticus Lowe. Brother, you're so handsome in person. Are you really from Harvard? Brother, my chest has been hurting so much lately. Is it because it's too big? Feel it, is there something wrong? Were girls this desperate these days? A surge of anger consumed me. I raised my hand and banged furiously on the door. Once I was allowed in, I completely ignored the young girl, grinning widely at Atticus Lowe. Honey, sorry to interrupt your work. I just came by to remind you to come home for dinner after work. Without waiting for either of their reactions, I exited the room with as much dignity as I could muster. Seconds after I left, the girl stormed out, slamming the door behind her, and even glared at me as if I were someone who had stolen her husband. Utterly inexplicable. I went back in for my stitch removal. As I was about to take off my clothes, Atticus Lowe stopped me. Wait. I'll ask the nurse to come in and help you with the stitches. Don't bother, I said. Haven't you seen it all already? But Atticus Lowe insisted. While the nurse removed my stitches, he waited outside the door like a complete gentleman. It was the first time I'd ever seen a doctor wait outside for their patient during an examination. Strange. After I finished dressing, I heard Atticus Lowe ask, Are you busy later? I thought for a moment and shook my head. Why? Then wait for me for a bit. Wait for him for what? Atticus Lowe looked at me, his expression calm, and said, Didn't you come to remind me to come home for dinner after work? Wife. My face flushed scarlet. I just said that on impulse because I was afraid you'd be harassed. Then let me remind you to eat, he said, his voice serious. I'm serious. 7 years after graduating high school, our class leader insisted on holding a 7-year class reunion. As the formerly notorious love chaser, I received an enthusiastic invitation to attend. They claimed they wanted to relive our youth, but I knew the truth was that these good students had led rather uneventful high school lives. Without the dramatic story of my impulsive pursuit, they wouldn't even have anything to talk about over drinks. I had mentioned the reunion to Atticus Lowe, but he had transferred in his 3rd year of high school and hadn't been invited this time. Of course, my former classmates were likely also trying to avoid any potential awkwardness for me. Before I left, Atticus Lowe had fussed over me like a worried mother, telling me not to drink or eat spicy food. I agreed verbally, but in reality I had been craving them for ages. My wound was healed now, and I had been eating food worse than a chicken's diet. Anyone would have given in. Stepping out felt like being a wild horse unleashed, galloping freely, drinking and singing with my classmates. By the third bottle of beer, my scar began to itch. A wave of fear washed over me. I rushed outside and called Atticus Lowe, my voice tinged with panic. After I described my symptoms, he simply said, "Wait for me," and hung up. After the call, my classmates had run out of things to talk about and, inevitably, turned back to rehashing my past pursuit of Atticus Lowe. Back then, Ding Ding's pursuit of our unattainable high mountain flower was quite a spectacle, one said. It was like something out of a romantic drama, almost involving banners across the school. Another colleague chimed in jokingly, "Ding, you're so good-looking. So many guys in our class had crushes on you. You chasing after him like that just broke all our young hearts." As he finished speaking, the door to the private room was pushed open. Atticus Lowe stood there wearing a black trench coat, a polite smile on his lips. "Whose hearts are being broken?" "Holy hell!" The group was stunned, nearly dropping their beer bottles. "Dr. Lowe." Atticus Lowe seemed to completely ignore their twisted expressions, walking directly to my side and asking in a low voice, "How is it now?" I sniffled. "It hurts." Atticus Lowe sighed softly. "I told you to control your diet. Left you alone for a day and you're running wild. Are you coming back with me now or later?" The room was utterly silent. Everyone stared at me and Atticus Lowe, their eyes practically popping out of their sockets. I figured if I stayed here, I'd be subjected to a barrage of questions and teasing. I quickly stood up. "I'll go with you now." The class leader's eyes were filled with unspoken questions, but perhaps intimidated by Atticus Lowe's presence, he didn't dare say anything, merely watching us leave. The moment the door closed behind us, I heard the room erupt in a clamor, mixed with exclamations like, "Ding Ding is awesome." I felt a bit annoyed. "You said you'd text me when you arrived." "I didn't plan on coming in at first," Atticus Lowe said, walking beside me. "But then I heard people talking about having crushes on you, and I was worried you'd break more young hearts. So I decided to save a few innocent youths." "What nonsense." At the hospital, Atticus Lowe politely knocked on the door of the neighboring department and asked an older female doctor to examine me. Both the female doctor and I were perplexed by this unnecessary step. Atticus Lowe's cheeks were slightly flushed. He simply said, "It's not appropriate for me to examine her myself." He said it as if he wasn't the one who had insisted on me taking off my clothes for him in the first place. Hearing this, the female doctor narrowed her eyes, her expression saying, "Say no more, I understand." After the examination, she said, "It's nothing serious. Just a minor irritation from the spicy food and alcohol. I've prescribed some anti-inflammatory cream. Just apply it daily." I felt a bit nervous. Will there be a scar? Avoid irritating food and drink for a while. Once the scar is completely healed, you can eat anything you like. After answering, the female doctor glanced at Atticus Lowe. "But young Atticus probably won't mind if you have a scar on your chest, right?" Clearly, she had also misunderstood our relationship. I was about to explain when I saw Atticus Lowe shake his head. "I don't mind. She's just concerned about her appearance because she cares about beauty. I'll make sure she avoids irritating food." Me. There's a type of relationship where the entire world misunderstands you're dating, but you're actually not. Atticus Lowe drove me home that night. On the way, I couldn't hold back anymore. Lots of people are misunderstanding our relationship. "It's not entirely a misunderstanding," Atticus Lowe said, walking beside me, his hands in his pockets, his pace steady. "Not entirely a misunderstanding. Did that mean it was real?" Seeing my confused expression, Atticus Lowe cleared his throat slightly. "I am indeed pursuing you." I was dumbfounded. "Since when?" "All along." I felt a little dissatisfied. "Well, your pursuit was certainly very subtle. At least compared to how unsubtle my pursuit was back then." After our talk the next day, I received a flamboyant bouquet of red roses at work. The card had a single flourishing character. Lowe. My colleagues immediately knew I had a suitor named Lowe, but I remained tight-lipped about who it was. Although I had called it cliché to Atticus Lowe in our messages, I was secretly quite happy. I carefully arranged the flowers in a vase. That evening after work, Atticus Lowe was waiting downstairs at my office building. The first person to spot him was Gavin Reed. Unaware of our new dynamic, Gavin Reed nervously went over to apologize for the trouble the show had caused Atticus Lowe. "It's fine," Atticus Lowe said, just as I reached the doorway. "Actually, I should be thanking you all for taking care of Stella." He paused, then added, "Yes, I'm pursuing her." Dr. Lowe's version of not being subtle was letting the entire world know. And so, I became the office celebrity. It turned out people who excel academically really do have unique strengths. For example, Atticus Lowe demonstrated extreme persistence when it came to sending flowers. After receiving flowers every day for a week, I couldn't take it anymore. "Don't you have any other moves?" I asked. "I've never pursued a girl before," Atticus Lowe said, frowning slightly. He reached into his bag and pulled out a stack of envelopes. "I wrote you love letters too. There was one for every day since our reunion, totaling exactly 136 letters. The same number of love letters I had written to him back then. A wave of emotion washed over me. In the short time since our reunion, he had been picking me up from work, finding ways to take me out to eat, sending flowers and snacks every day, and now he had written a stack of love letters. These moves, he had learned them all from my past pursuit of him. Thinking about it this way felt a little anticlimactic. Holding the heavy stack of letters, I finally asked the question I had deliberately avoided. "After you came back from the States, why did you look for me?" Atticus Lowe was honest. "I wanted to see if you were single." "Why?" "Ding ding," Atticus Lowe said, suddenly serious. "I've liked you for a long time. In high school, I deliberately waited until everyone else left after school because I didn't want too many people around when I walked with you. After we were in different classes, my homework was different from yours, but I would review your homework the night before so I could continue helping you with problems. In the mornings, I would deliberately give away the breakfast my family prepared for me, and then tell you I hadn't eaten, just so I could eat the same thing as you. That day you kissed me, I intended to confess to you the next day, but the homeroom teacher contacted me. Things like early relationships always put the girl at a disadvantage, especially since your grades weren't as good as mine." My heart began to pound rapidly. These letters weren't written recently. I actually replied to every single one of your love letters. He breathed out softly. "Give me another chance. I don't want to miss out on so many more years. At least I can promise you that after we're together, I won't make your breasts ache from anger and develop nodules." What kind of ridiculous confession is that? I took a deep breath, blinking away the moisture in my eyes. "Atticus Lowe, you're really annoying." "I know," he said. "Because of you, the homeroom teacher was really harsh on me for 3 years in high school." "I'm sorry." "Atticus Lowe, let's be together." After so many years, his lips met mine again. My heart felt like it would leap out of my chest. It turned out my feelings weren't a one-sided crush after all. It was a mutual journey finally beginning. The end.